Have you ever felt pressure to smile and stay positive even when your life was clearly falling apart? Have you been told that feeling sad, angry, or confused means you are not spiritually evolved enough? This pressure does not heal people. It silently teaches them to suppress their real emotions. This is called toxic positivity, and spirituality has become one of its safest hiding places. Pain is no longer treated as human experience, but as a personal or spiritual failure. People are told this suffering exists because they did not think positively enough. Instead of receiving support, they receive advice wrapped in spiritual language. On the outside, everything looks peaceful, calm, and enlightened. On the inside, anxiety, guilt, and emotional exhaustion keep growing silently. To understand why this happens, we must clearly separate real spirituality from emotional avoidance. Toxic positivity is the belief that only positive emotions are acceptable, while others should be avoided. It encourages constant optimism even when reality clearly demands grief, anger, or serious reflection. Negative emotions are labeled as low vibration, weakness, or lack of spiritual maturity. This creates pressure to perform happiness instead of actually experiencing emotional truth. In spiritual communities, this pressure becomes stronger because suffering is often blamed on ignorance. People are told they attracted their problems through wrong thoughts or poor energy. This shifts responsibility away from real circumstances and places blame on the individual's inner state. Instead of compassion, people receive judgment disguised as spiritual advice. Shame is added to pain, making emotional recovery much more difficult. This emotional layering is what makes toxic positivity psychologically damaging. Spiritual language often becomes a convenient cover to avoid uncomfortable emotional conversations. Phrases like "everything happens for a reason" are used to shut down real emotional expression. Instead of listening, people offer instant meaning to pain they have not understood. "Just let go" becomes a shortcut to avoid sitting with someone's emotional reality. "Stay positive" is often code for "your emotions are making me uncomfortable." This pattern is known in psychology as spiritual bypassing. The mind jumps to spiritual ideas before the body processes emotional stress. Unprocessed emotions do not disappear. They remain stored in the nervous system. Over time, this creates anxiety, emotional numbness, or sudden emotional breakdowns. People then feel confused because they followed spiritual advice but feel worse inside. Human emotions are not mistakes. They are biological and psychological signals with specific purposes. Anger often signals crossed boundaries, injustice, or unmet personal needs. Sadness helps the nervous system process loss, disappointment, and emotional change. Fear prepares the body to respond to danger or uncertainty. When emotions are suppressed, the nervous system stays in a constant stress response. The body feels unsafe even when the mind tries to stay calm. The inner conflict creates exhaustion, tension, and emotional confusion. People begin feeling disconnected from themselves and their authentic experiences. Over time, emotional numbness replaces genuine peace and clarity. This numbness is often misinterpreted as spiritual detachment or enlightenment. Authentic spiritual traditions never taught people to deny or suppress their emotional experience. They taught awareness, honesty, and presence with whatever is actually happening inside. The Buddha spoke openly about suffering instead of pretending it could be avoided by positive thinking. Advaita teaches witnessing emotions, not rejecting them as illusions or weaknesses. Bhakti saints cried, questioned God, and expressed pain openly through songs and poetry. Even surrender in spirituality begins with honesty about confusion, fear, and emotional struggle. Real spirituality includes grief, doubt, anger, and uncertainty as part of growth. Nothing is labeled bad. Everything is observed with awareness and compassion. Healing happens when emotions are allowed to complete their natural cycle. Peace arrives after understanding emotions, not by forcing happiness too early. Healthy spirituality allows emotions to exist fully without making them define your identity or self-worth. You can feel anger without becoming violent or resentful toward yourself or others. You can feel sadness without losing hope or feeling spiritually inadequate. You can question, doubt, or struggle without being told you are failing spiritually. Emotions are observed, felt, and then released naturally instead of being ignored or judged. This process strengthens emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and the ability to respond rather than react. The nervous system learns safety, allowing stress to settle instead of staying trapped inside. People feel grounded, authentic, and fully alive instead of pretending or performing positivity. Acceptance of all feelings, not denial, becomes the foundation for inner peace and clarity. This approach turns spirituality into a practical tool for real transformation, not emotional suppression. Toxic positivity pretends to give peace, but it is actually fear disguised as spirituality. Fear of discomfort, vulnerability, and honesty hides behind spiritual words, making people silent instead of healed. Real spirituality is brave enough to sit with discomfort, to witness emotions fully without judgment. It says, feel everything, observe everything, but do not lose awareness, and that is true freedom.